right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatay Hawa, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is, um, just bear with me 1 second. A recipe for Jacob's trouble. That's what it is. And pretty much this was something that, came to mind last night at the, Tuesday camp here in Dallas. I was out there with the brothers because I didn't get a chance to go out Friday. So I went out with the brothers yesterday at this Tuesday camp to make up for the Friday camp. And beautiful camp, I was in the young brothers camp. Brothers were getting down. We were speaking about different things. But, that title, A Recipe for Jacob's Trouble, is something heavy. Now, the reason why I had mentioned that was because there was this bill that was trying to be passed, Bill 1484, dealing with the bounty hunters and them giving free reign pretty much $1,000 a head to be able to actually
30,000
pretty much hunt down, you know, um, these so-called illegal migrants. And, you know, they would get $1,000 a head for these, if it led to the arrest and deportation of any of them. And what I found out before, I go into this video here, what I found out today was that bill was repealed. So basically, not repealed, it was shut down. It says Mississippi legislature kills bill to pay bounty hunters to track undocumented immigrants. So they killed the bill, but it doesn't mean that it's going to go away. But I kind of wanted to use that as the premise for this lesson because of the legislation that's being passed to justify the implementation of the New World Order. Now, we'll just read a little bit of this. It says, the Mississippi legislature killed a proposed bill to create a bounty hunter program for people who entered the U.S. illegally. The legislation, if passed, would have created a bounty hunting program to hunt down immigrants funded by the state. House Bill 1484 sought to create the Mississippi illegal alien certified bounty hunter program. State Representative Justin Keene from DeSoto County authored the bill. DeSoto County District Attorney Matthew Barton announced the proposed legislation in January news release. Both men say the proposal fit with immigration policy changes endorsed by President Donald Trump. Keene also cited the death of Laken Riley, saying it was meant to protect communities from bad actors and violent criminals. Okay, what would the bill have done if passed? According to the news release, the proposed legislation would offer a $1,000 reward to registered bounty hunters for each successful deportation they help facilitate. The funds would come from the General Assembly for the state treasurer to administer, and it would have gone into effect July 1st, 2025. The text also defined a crime of trespass by an illegal alien as a felony for which the authorized term of imprisonment is life imprisonment without eligibility for probation, parole, conditional release, or release except by act of the governor or the natural death of such person. That can change if the federal government takes custody of the person and deports them within 24 hours. The law would have required anyone arrested on the charge to submit a DNA sample. And you can read more of this. I put this in the description box. There's more. It says, when did the bill die? The bill died in Division B of the Judiciary Committee of the House earlier last week. All right, so that bill, they shut it down, Bill 1484, which would have been excellent for, the speeding up pretty much of Jacob's trouble. But nevertheless, they still got provisions in place. So as I was getting ready for the lesson, I happened to see this video that you see here from Cash Jordan. I watch his videos from time to time. It says ICE troops deport NYC migrants to Guantanamo Bay prison. Now you have another prison down in El Salvador, I believe it is. San Salvador or El Salvador, if I'm not mistaken. You can watch the video where they got the most hardened criminals in that area in those prisons down there, and they got them in check. They can't run that shit that they run in the streets. So they offered, America the ability to ship these detainees, these immigrants down there, and also even Americans that America considers to be the worst criminals. All right. Now, why is that important? Because who is to say who can label who, a violent criminal? And that's what these devils do. And about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, a brother sent me this article, which I didn't get a chance to read, but I was reading through it, I think this morning or last night. And this was a law that was actually passed back in the days against GAD. And this is Act for the Government and Protection of Indians, right? So now, the guy's going to say that's going into this article, it sounds like it is something to help GAD, but when you go in there, you'll see different. It says law against Native Americans. In 1850, the California legislature passed an act for the government and protection of Indians that essentially forced many Native Americans into servitude, total slavery. All right. Now, this is during the gold rush. The law provided for the forced labor of loitering or orphan Native Americans, regulated their employment, and defined a special class of Indian crimes with punishments. So, pretty much, this particular act was set up to criminalize GAD, get GAD, deleted or put on these reservation slash concentration slash detention centers, right? So to allow Esau to roam freely and take whatever the fuck they wanted, basically. All right. It says James Rawls, historian. The name of the law sounds benign, but the effect was malign in extreme degree, right? Because it sounds innocent, but when you start to go into the bill, you see how dangerous this bill really was for GAD back then. Any white person under this law could declare Indians who were simply strolling about, who were not gainfully employed, to be vagrants, right? And take that charge before a justice of the peace, and the justice of the peace would then have those Indians seized and sold at public auction. See? So it wasn't just the southern kingdom that was being sold and shipped in cargo slave ships and all that. It was the other tribes too. They were going through a lot of shit too. But the point is if they would have made that bill 1484, the bounty hunter bill for the so-called illegal migrants, if they would have made it law, that could have extended to more than just the so-called illegal aliens. It could extend it to other Israelites that are in this country, because at the end of the day, Jake is the main, problem for these devils. And they've been trying to exterminate us for the longest, and they've succeeded in getting rid of a lot of us. But, just like in Egypt, when the more that they oppressed us in Egypt, the more that our forefathers, multiplied. All right. It says, and the person who bought them would have their labor for 4 months without compensation. So pretty much it was a way, just like the 13th Amendment, this is the 13th Amendment prior to the 13th Amendment, but this is a way to be able to get free labor for 4 months out of these Gadites, basically make them slaves. All they had to do was to see him walking and say, well, look, this guy is a vagrant, get him, and then They would lock them up, and then they could sell them at the auction, and then these devils could buy them and have free labor for 4 months. Show you how these devils operate. It says in the early days of the gold rush, from the very beginning, frustrated Anglo-American miners banded together to form groups of essentially vigilante or volunteer militia groups. They were ad hoc organizations, and their stated objective was to exterminate the red devils. Red devil calling somebody else a red devil. Ain't that about a bitch? When Gad is brown, different shades of brown. To eliminate, see, the obstacle that the native Californians had become in their minds. So basically, they wanted to eliminate this obstacle because, like I've been saying for a minute, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, the greatest threat to the New World Order are the Israelites, beginning with Judah. And their modus operandi was to attack native villages wherever they might find them in the vicinity of their mining activity. See, nothing new than what they were doing, but this time it was dealing with mining for gold. So whenever they see them near there, they could just go and destroy the whole village. Like my man Bunny said, well, let's do the whole fucking village, man. It says to eliminate their presence utterly. See? So this is pretty much what they want. They want to get rid of us permanently. Matter of fact, let's go to, I want to come back to that, but let's go to, because I had this scripture on it ready for, in the lesson, but let's bring it out now. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 62 and verse. I'm going to go straight to the point because we're going to come back to this, Lord's will. 62 and 4. They only consult to cast him down from his excellency. Now, this right here is a prophecy of Yahushai, being, the wicked Pharisees, Sadducees, and certain wicked Israelites wanting to cast Yahushai down from his excellency. But this extends to us, the Israelites, today also. Because whatever persecution our Lord went through, we're going to go through. All right? This is why he gave, warnings back then, told the disciples things that they will suffer, so that in their ministry they can pass that along. That's why in the ministry that the Apostle Peter and the Apostle John and the rest of the apostles spoke about, and then extending to Apostle Paul, and the men that were with him, what was one of the major points in their message, besides the dying on the cross of Yahushua to deliver us, to get us the kingdom, was persecution, suffering wrongfully, being persecuted for this truth, being persecuted for standing for what we believe in. Okay? So this here, which is speaking about Yahushua, also extends to us, the Israelites, because whatever our Lord went through, we got to go through. He said the servant is not greater than his master. So it says they only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. And that's what these devils do. They bless with their mouth, right? But they curse inwardly, Salah. And that's seen heavy right here in this article, which is called Act for the Government and Protection of Indians. It sounds good, but what is it? It's nothing but a lie. We just read there, the last part of it is they delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly, Salah. So basically, take a pause on that. Think about that. All right, so it says, now before we go back to this, I just want to make a quick mention of this. This right here extends to the so-called migrants, right? Being sent to Guantanamo Bay prison once they're captured, right? But this is going to extend to other Americans, mainly the Israelites, but other individuals that they just declare that they no longer want them in this country anymore. They're going to ship them out. So going back to the article, it says to eliminate their presence utterly, killing the men, the women, and the children. When Esau does it, it's okay. When we talk about, this is shit that they actually done. When we talk about what the kingdom is going to bring and how we're going to, exact vengeance upon these devils for what they've done to us, we're just like these brutal, ugly monsters. We're just the wickedest thing on the planet going. Oh, they believe in this, they believe in that, they think they're gonna have slaves. Well, you got damn right we're gonna have slaves. You got damn right we're gonna exact vengeance upon you in the kingdom of heaven. You did it all the whole time you devils been here, you've done this. You know? But nobody can talk about that. Oh, that's the past. Why are you bringing up the past? Well, we're talking about the future. What's gonna happen in the future to your ass? And this was considered to be a necessity. Why? Because they wanted Gad out of the way so they can roam freely to steal everything else. The only way we will be able to mine in security if all these people are exterminated. And that's what they want. They want to cast him down from his excellency. Now, let's get into, because I'm going to come back to this, Lord's will, and read some more of this article. But let's get into Psalms. Because Psalms, the 83rd chapter, pretty much is the conspiracy of the nations against us, the Israelites. Now, a conspiracy is, con is with, spiracy is to breathe with or to breathe together. Two or more people coming together, with one plan in mind. So they're in cahoots one with the other. All right. And all of these nations are on board with taking us out. All right. This is Psalms 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O Most High, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power, right? Because they're mounting a great attack on us, the Israelites. So we're asking the Lord, when this time comes, don't keep silence, judge them, bring judgment upon them, exact vengeance on them, keep them far from what they plan on doing. Because the scriptures say, unless those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be left to be saved. Because this time is going to be like no other time that has ever been on the planet in any nation, and there's going to be a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, the time of Jacob's trouble. So everything that you see right now in the legislation that's happening is a recipe for Jacob's trouble, as well as other things too. But this is what's going to bring these laws that they got in place is what's going to bring this great persecution against the nation of Israel. Whether you know you're an Israelite or not, whether you're doing the work of the Lord or not. Now, the only ones that's going to be protected are the elect. And even some of the elect are going to have to suffer, what they call martyrdom, for their beliefs. All right? So it says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, right? This is all the nations coming together and making a tumult. Like you see, or you'll see, watch these movies where you have a bunch of people coming together and that noise that they're making, and you could hear the commotion, and the chaos. Well, that's what they're doing. They're coming together. Now, are you going to see them when they're in your face? You think they're going to talk about that? No. They're going to act like they're these benevolent individuals. But behind closed doors, this is when, the real shit comes out. This is why you have, so-called hot mics, and people when they don't know that anybody's watching or anybody's recording, they'll let you know what they really thinking. It says, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. Why? Because we are the top nation. But because of our disobedience, we became the bottom nation. And all nations are above us. So they've lifted up their head over us. And they're peering down on us, getting ready to move. Scriptures say that they shall be like leopards in the city, watching the prey. And if you ever watch a documentary on a leopard is very stealthy. A leopard can move in the daytime amongst other animals undetected. I've watched it. I'm like, wow, it's an amazing thing to see. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. And these consultations are, what are we going to do about this problem? You know what the problem is. Then they go into passing legislation, trying to, get, brothers the Israelites entangled in criminal activities or associated with criminal activities or tea to the error organizations so that they can use it as a justification to pretty much mow us down. And this is what all this legislation that you see going on is for. So this is Revelation chapter 13 and 11, the beast from the earth. It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. This other beast is America coming up out of the earth. This is the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. We've gone over this over and over again, but for those of you that may be new to this right here, this whole chapter is dealing with the ancient Roman Empire in power and them falling and then coming back to life. And the way they came back to life was through, they came in through England, but they really put their claws when America was established as a country, so-called country. So it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. These two horns represent the two powers of the so-called Senate, which is the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. These are the two horns. And it says that he had two horns like a lamb, right? So a lamb is known to be a meek animal. So they, in present, you see every time they go and they, lobbying or whatever, running for particular office, they'll give you all these fair speeches, these good speeches. You would think that this person is the most important, most benevolent, most sincere individual in the world, but they're not. Yeah, like the brother put 2 Corinthians 2:11, least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. You see? But the average person out there, they still fall for the hook, line, and sinker. People have been alive, 40, 50, 60 years, and they still give their energy to vote because they buy the bullshit time and time again. They keep buying the bullshit that comes out from these politicians' mouths, which these politicians are full of shit. And if any of them really wanted to do what the things that they say, guess what? They get offed, like Sonny Bono and others. All right? So they'll give you that speech, but they're nothing but serpents. It says, so they had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. When you go into the word dragon, it goes to the Greek word drakon, which goes into the Athenian lawgiver by the name of Draco. Now, Draco, this Athenian lawgiver, he had legislation that was brutal. And every crime that was committed, whether the least crime or the worst crime, they were all, punished by the same way. You would be put to death or something extreme. So that's where you have something called draconian legislation. And this is what these devils have been passing. And who do you think is going to affect the most? The Israelites. Whenever you see these futuristic movies, how many times you see a bunch of Jakes in these futuristic movies? You always see just Edomites. You might see a couple of Elamites, some Moabites and stuff, but you'll very rarely see any Israelites. Because Esau's future doesn't really include us, and the ones that it does include will be straight up slaves, like they believe that we're supposed to be. You see, this is what they believe that we're supposed. In their mind, we're nothing more than slaves. They don't hold us to be equal, even though we're not equal to them. We're way better than them. But in this society, they got it fucked up. They got it turned upside down, to where you thinking that you just want to be equal with these devils that are the basis of men. They ain't nothing. It says, and he, meaning this beast, exercises or puts into power or into effect all the power of the first beast before him. And the first beast before him was who? The ancient Roman Empire. At the time that the Apostle John wrote this vision, the Roman Empire was in power at the time. And causes the earth and them which dwell therein to what? Worship the first beast. And that's why when you look at the governmental structure, economic structure, military structure, and just the general air of America, it is all set up and established as the ancient Roman Empire. From their legislative bodies, to their court systems, to their economic bases, to their war tactics, their military, their strategies of putting bases all over the planet, pretty much everything mimics um, ancient Rome. And I'm not talking about just basic, your just everyday life. As far as like every home out there doesn't look like a Roman Empire home. Every place you go doesn't look like that. But when you deal with the government or the governmental agencies, those governmental agencies, the buildings are established and built with the architecture of the ancient Roman Empire. And then when you go into the legislation, you always hear ad hoc or ipso facto or caveat emptor, and just different terms like that, which go back to what? To the Latin, because the ancient Roman Empire, they spoke Latin in the ancient Roman Empire, and their legislation was written in Latin, and they used Roman numerals. America, they use Roman numerals. When you look at the back of the dollar bill, there are Roman numerals on the back of a dollar bill. There is Latin writing on the back of a dollar bill. If this is America, why do you have Latin writing on the back of the dollar bill? Because this is nothing more than the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. And those are just a few examples. Then you look at the uh, mascot, I guess you could call it, or the symbol for America is what? The bald-headed eagle. Same thing with the ancient Rome. So there's a whole lot of parallels, when you really get into the nooks and crannies of it, of how America mirrors the ancient Roman Empire. And you see that the same way that the ancient Roman Empire was on a downward trajectory, so is America. All right. It says, I'll read this whole thing again. He exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And that deadly wound was healed, primarily during the time of the Renaissance, but really now, or in full force, when the American Empire was really established. All right. And the main part that we taken out of here is what? The draconian legislation that they're passing. Brothers been posting all type of scriptures on the comment board. So let's go back here. I'm sorry. Let's go to Psalms now, 83 and 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Why is that? And when we were reading this article, it said that they wanted to exterminate Gad. So this is showing you that this is dealing with Esau, right? And the reason why they want to do that is because the Israelites, beginning with the tribe of Judah, especially the tribe of Judah, is the biggest threat to the New World Order, because we are the Israelites. They know that we are the Israelites. They know that our forefather Jacob supplanted them for their birthright and supplanted them for their blessing. And they're on a never-ending, bloodthirsty quest to get that birthright back. But you ain't getting that birthright back. It wasn't yours to begin with. And if your stupid ass will go back to the law, it don't matter if you sold your birthright or not. If you go back to the scriptures, it tells you from the womb, before they were even born, that you were going to be our servant. So the birthright was never yours in the first place. That was just the way the Lord set it up for us to get the birthright, because we were the proper heirs, even though our forefather Jacob was born second. And by right, everything was supposed to go to the firstborn, which is Esau. But the Lord spiritually flipped it. It says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So the name Israel still exists. The land is still called that. You got people over there that got the flag, they got everything. That people, you could still look on a map. You could type in Israel map, and it'll show you a map of where that land is at. So obviously, it's not talking about that. And then, you have people called Israel. You have all. So it's not talking about the actual name Israel. It's talking about that the name of Israel would not be upon us in remembrance upon us. You see, so when they set it up to where you're Negroes, you're Latinos, you're Native American Indians, and as long as we call ourselves that, as long as we call us, Jake, I mean, shit, how many goddamn nationalities does Judah have? As long as we call ourselves that, African American, Afro American, African, all this other bullshit, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Native American Indian, all those different names, they don't have a problem with that. But the moment we start calling ourselves Israelites, well, no, we can't be Israelites. You don't see these apologists, these so-called Christians, right, doing protests or making videos against Yemeni Jews or Sephardic Jews or any of those other people around the world that call themselves Jews. It's only us, even though a lot of those Sephardic Jews are Jakes. But you don't see them making videos against them. How do y'all know y'all those people? It's just us. Why? Because it lends credence to what we're reading here. Psalms 83 and 4. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, that we wouldn't remember it. Because they knew that we had been cut off, and they knew that when there was anything that would lead back to us being Israelites, they would remove it out of the way. And they showed you in the series Roots, when they had Kunta Kinte, chained up, and the devil, was beating him. What's your name, boy? He said Kunta. And before he goes, no, your name is Toby. So they went as far as to get rid of even any trace that would lead back to us being Israelites. This is why they took the young Gadite boys and Gadite girls and brought them to boarding schools to what? To remove from them their heritage, so that there could be no trace of them getting back to the knowledge and the understanding of who they really are. You see? And that came through divine intervention by a man by the name of Elder Abba Bivens. All right, and if you could receive it, that's John the Baptist and Elijah and many other great men in the past, and that's where this truth about who we are, the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, that's where it began at. That's where the journey begins. And that 12 tribe sign that you see today with the 12 tribes from Judah all the way to Issachar, so-called Negroes, so on and so forth, that came from High Priest, Elder High Priest Ariah, which the Lord gave him that vision, and showed him who these people are, and then had him go and do extensive research in the scriptures and in the history to get all of that information, to put it together, to give us what we have today as a 12 tribe sign, because that is a commandment in the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. And Elder Pastor Tar just recently, touched on that in one of the lessons he just recently did. You see? So it goes on to say, for they have consulted together. I'm sorry. Let me see. Oh, man. So let me select it. Let me read the third verse again. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. They have consulted against thy hidden ones. All right. So we are the hidden ones. So let's go from there to Psalms chapter 10. Psalms chapter 10 and verse 9. It says, he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. That's Esau. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. How is he catching the poor? By this legislation, by the different carrots that he's dangling in the face of Jake. It says he doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. And this whole system of America is nothing more than a net. Elder Apostle Gabar goes into the word system which means pit. So this system is nothing more than a pit. What is a pit? A pit is a prison, you know? And that's how he's drawing Jake into this pit, to this prison. And this is why he's fighting tooth and nail and going, hard body on, making this or pushing the very thing or the currencies to become digital so that they can continue or put the nail or the final nails in their new world order agenda, which would be the micro chip, which is the MOTB in the book of Revelation 13. All right, so it says he croucheth and humbleth himself. You got these legislators, these politicians, especially the politicians, that the poor may fall by his strong ones, because eventually they're going to come in like a flood. And when they come in like a flood, that's when the Lord's going to snap back and snap Esau's neck, so to speak. Let's go to, I got a series of scriptures here real quick. Go to these, and then Lord's will, we'll go back to that, and maybe if the Spirit allows, read some more of that article. Psalms 59:19, one of my favorite. I'm sorry. Is it 59? Oh, no, not Psalms. I always get Psalms confused with Isaiah. ISIPSA. ISAPSA. Isaiah 59 and 19. It says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai from the west. We're in the Western Hemisphere. We know the name of the Lord. We fear the name of the Lord. We exalt the names of the Lord. We praise the names of the Lord. We laud the names of the Lord. We push the names of the Lord every chance we get. And there's glory from the rising of the sun. That's brothers and sisters on the other side of the earth in the east. When the enemy, which is Esau, shall come in like a flood, like a madman, the spirit of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, shall lift up a standard against him. So there's going to be some type of divine intervention that the Lord is going to bring that's going to keep him from fully, getting his hands on the elect. Now, let's go from there to Psalms chapter 31. I hope I wrote all these down right, because it was some really good precepts. Psalms 31 and 20. Thou shalt hide them in the secret of thy presence. Ooh, who's that? The elect. Thou shalt hide them in the secret of thy presence, because this truth is a secret to the world. And it's a protection. All right? It's the very thing that's going to keep us safe in these times. Knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. Finally, brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. That's where the power lies, because the Lord is bound by his word. It says, from the pride of man, in this case Esau, and the nations, but Esau is the spearhead, all right, the hatchet head for the rest of the fasci. Thou shalt keep them secretly in a pavilion from the strife of tongues. See? And that's what's going on right now. With all this legislation, that's the strife of tongues that they're passing. Let's look up the word pavilion real quick, and then we'll come back and deal with that other part. Pavilion, the word there is sakah. Sounds like sakuth, which is or I think it's sakath if I'm not mistaken, which is, I believe that's the plural way of saying booths. Sakah, thicket, yep, cover, booth, yep, like the Feast of Tabernacles. It would be this is the singular way of saying it, sakah, and then you have the plural way of saying it. All right, so thicket, cover, booth, like you have the Feast of Tabernacles or the Tabernacles. Thicket, booth, rude or temporary shelter, right? And that was the way for us to humble ourselves, even if you had kings and everybody that did it, princes, everybody, princesses, that once a year, during that week, during that time, the eight actually 7 days but then the eighth day was a part of the celebration too. We would dwell in booths. All right, that was a temporary shelter, or like a tent. All right, a hut or a lair, booth, cottage, pavilion. So pretty much that would be what? That would be the protection. So the pavilion would be a protection of the Lord. So that's symbolic for the Lord keeping his hand over us spiritually to protect us from the strife of the tongues, right? And the strife of the tongues right now is, you know, what Esau's saying, how they want to get rid of us, and the legislation that they're passing. Because legislation begins with a thought. You see, these bills begin with a thought. I was looking something up earlier, and it pretty much just said it begins with a thought, and then they present it. Then they write it out, then they present it, and then when the certain individuals read it, they make certain amendments and provisions to it, and it keeps going down the list. And if it gets approved by 2/3 of the Congress, I believe it is, or Senate, then it passes. If not, then it dies to death on the floor. It might get past certain stages, but then it's okay. Nope, that's it. And I believe even if they veto it, which is the president vetoes the bill, if 2/3 of the Congress, I believe it is, agrees with it, it could still pass. You know, from what I was reading, of course. It says, "Blessed be the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, for he has shown me his marvelous kindness and his strong city." Right. So the Lord's going to be that strong city. That's why it says that the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. So now let's go from there to the book of Isaiah, since we are building on the uh, the strife of the tongue or the power of the tongue. Isaiah 54 and 17. It says, "No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper," and that's no. It doesn't matter what it is. "And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn." And the word condemn means to with damnation. And that's why when these so-called anti-Christians and anyone comes up against us, we condemn them. They can't, there's nothing that they can do. There's nothing that they can say. There's no law that they can pass. They could try to stop this, but the Lord, it's already in motion. It's a juggernaut. It's already in motion. It's already been building up speed. It's been building up tempo. It's been building up momentum, power, you know. And pretty soon the Lord is going to take it and make it come to effect. And we see it happening. It says, "This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh." See, the servants. Not every Israelite is a servant of the Lord, even though all Israel are the Lord's servants, but not every Israelite is serving the Lord today. So that's why the elect are going to be delivered. And their righteousness is what? Of me, not of keep the laws, the statutes, the commandments, although we're supposed to keep them to the best of our ability. Their righteousness is of me. Our righteousness is of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Now let's go from there to Psalms 91. This is a beautiful Psalms too. Psalms 91. And we're going to read a couple of verses. Psalms 91 and 1. "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High." What is the secret place of the Most High? This truth. It's the shelter, the pavilion. "Shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty," or under the protection of the Almighty, of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. I will say of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, "He is my refuge and my fortress." He's our stronghold. He's what we rely on. He's what we fall upon. He's what we, look to for protection. It says, "My power in him will I trust." Let's look up this word fortress. It should be like a strong tower. Matazawar. I'm sorry, Matazawad. Matazawad. Net, pray, net, pray. Fastness, stronghold. See, stronghold. Like you have a castle with towers and all that. That's a stronghold. That is a fortress, something that you run to for a refuge. So the name of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, that is our refuge. This truth is our refuge. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. Finally, brethren, be strong in the Lord and be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. So Psalms 91:3, surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, which the fowler is a bird catcher, which is Esau. The snare is a trap. He's going to deliver us from these traps because they set these traps up, and most Israelites are going to fall into those traps. Most Israelites are already in those traps. And from the noise and pestilence. What is the noise and pestilence? That's the missiles. Because that's the final, that's the final end game, for lack of better words, that's going to happen to this country and to the land of Israel. And we don't know if a few of those missiles are going to drop in other places in the world, but the majority of them are going to hit here in America because this place is going to be totally eviscerated, rooted out. Everything will be flat. There will be nothing here but just flatness. And then desert creatures and owls and different type of unclean birds will have their homes here. But it will never be inhabited by man again. He shall cover thee with his feathers. What are his feathers? Those are the chariots. And under his wings, same thing, shalt thou trust. That's why Revelation 18, Revelation 11 says, come up hither, my people, that you be not partakers of our sins. Because the place to be the safest in that time will be in the chariot of Yahushua. As the earth is rocking to and fro from the missiles pelting down upon it. And when that missiles pelt down upon it, there's great earthquake going to be rocking the earth. You're going to have tsunamis, all kind of stuff happening. So the safest place, the chariot of Yahushua. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. See? So the truth of the Lord shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. Right, because the Lord is going to protect the elect. Nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, these different diseases, and also pretty much the destruction. Nor for the destruction that wasteth at what? Noonday. What noonday? That's talking about Esau's, the highest point of Esau's kingdom. It says, when he is about to fill his belly, the Lord shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him. Bear with me 1 second, Baruch Shah. All right, Salakia for that. All right, so it says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee, right? Because the elect will be protected. Once again, only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. And that's the reward of the wicked, the lake of fire. It says, because thou hast made Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. So we pretty much are running into the protection or the shade of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, to be shielded from these calamities that are gonna be wreaking havoc on the world. It says, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling, for he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet. Nothing will hurt us, because he hath set his love upon me. Therefore will I deliver him. So how do we set our love upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai? What did Yahushai say? If you love me, feed my sheep, feed my lambs. You know, I will set him on high, because he hath what? Known my name. That's a cold cut to the IUIC. I will set him on high because he hath known my name. That's a beautiful precept too, the elder just put up too. Isaiah 26. I was thinking about that too. I would read it off the common book, but it's going to probably disappear when I start reading it. But y'all brothers, few sisters can read it, jot that down. He shall call upon me in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, not Jesus, not Christ, and I will answer him. I will be with him in what? In trouble. What trouble? Jacob's trouble. Rest assured that if you are part of the elect, when the time comes, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai will be there to protect you. It says, I will deliver him and honor him with long life. What I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Why? Because when the kingdom of heaven is established, we're going to live forever. That's that everlasting life that Yahushua spoke about. Now let's go from there. The last one I got here for this particular point is Colossians 3. And then we'll go back to the other point. Colossians 3:3. Matter of fact, I started one. If you then be risen with Yahushua, seek those things which are above, where Yahushua sitteth on the right hand of the Most High, which is wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. To constantly be, immersed in this truth. Always meditating on it, thinking about it, filtering everything you see with the truth. Thinking about the next lesson. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. See, because you got individuals that have all type of plans of what they're gonna do, and how they're gonna get this and get that, and get the other. If the Lord will, we get whatever we're gonna get what we need. But at the end of the day, to try to make plans, and especially in these times, you see what's going on, then your focus is in the wrong direction. For you are dead, and your life is what? Hid with Yahushua in the Most High. So we are hidden with the Lord. We are the Lord's hidden ones. And this truth is what's keeping us hidden and keeping us preserved. This truth is the salt that's keeping us preserved from the said perils, from the corruption and corrosion of the world. You see? This truth is very precious. It's a cleaning agent. It's charcoal. It says, when Yahushua, who is our life, shall appear, then shall you also appear with him in glory. Right. So now let's go back to the previous point. Where were we at? I know we read Psalms 10. Do I still have that? Yeah, you know what? Let me read this again. Psalms 10 and 9, then we'll go to the next precept. And like I said, I'll try to read a little more of that article. If not, there's articles in the description box. You brothers and you few sisters can read it. Psalms 10 and 9. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. Right. And the net is the New World Order. All of these different loopholes and pitfalls and obstacles that these devils are putting in place for people to be able to get to be able to survive. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. See? And then he says, because he knows who we are. The strong ones are these different military slash police agencies that they have set up. Like you see right now, they got the ICE enforcement out there, looking for illegals and grabbing whoever they deem to be an illegal. Or they got, man, FEMA troops, all of that. He has said in his heart, this is Esau, the most I have forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it. Right. So they don't think the Lord sees all of this. Arise, O Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, O power, lift up thine hand, forget not the humble. Yep. Now let's go from there to Psalms 56 and 6. It says, they gather themselves together as Esau, the nations, they hide themselves. They mark my steps when they wait for my soul. And that's what they want. They want to take us down. They want to eliminate us. They want to get rid of us. And some of us will fall into some of those traps for a little while, and then the Lord will come and deliver certain ones of us. Lord's will we be the elect. Psalm 24 and 6. Blessed be Yahweh Bashem El Shai, who have not given us as a prey to their teeth. Yep. And our soul is escaped as a bird. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers. Fowler is bird catcher. Esau is a fowler. Snare is the trap of the New World Order, this new system that they got in place. The snare is broken. See? And we are escaped. So, it could be a situation where, we be locked up somewhere in a concentration camp / detention center, and the Lord calls an angel like he did during the time of the Apostle Peter and them to break the chains and break us out, so to speak. We don't know how it's going to go down. Our help is what? In the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, who made heaven and earth. All right? That name is very important, man. Don't let them shiesty swindlers swindle you. All right, let's go from there to the book of Psalms. Once again, Psalms got a lot of nuggets too. Psalm 64, 1 and 2. 1 to 4. It says, hear my voice, O Yahweh Bashem El Shai, and my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Yeah, because this stuff that's coming, it's going to be very frightful, very fearful. I remember years ago, before coming into the truth, actually, like back in 1992, being in the basement, doing what I was doing back then. And then I remember the individual that was teaching me at the time, he had gave me a cassette tape of, John Todd. And I would listen to that. I was listening to the tape, and I was like, oh shit, man, they gonna do some shit out here. Just listening, I was like, wow, and I was just like nervous at the time. And I was like, damn, where could I go for protection? And then the first thought that came to mind, the school. I was like, oh shit. So I called the individual up. I said, where you said that school was at? He said, 1 West 125th Street. He said, you go down to the train station in Bridgeport, you catch a metro to 125th Street, and the school is right up the street from there. Sure enough, that Friday, which actually was, 92 was when he was teaching me. January of 1993 was when I jumped on a train and went to the school. And I remember the first coming in there, walking up them steps, making a right, and then another quick right. There was two doors. You walk through the two doors, and then there was this room, and there was brothers sitting down waiting for the teacher. That was a Friday night, so that was Yeshaya, the high priest Yeshaya, which was his title back then. That was his class. I think I sat like in the third row, maybe like the third seat or something like that. And I just kept looking at this 12 tribe sign. It was a big, gigantic 12 tribe sign with 2 chains hanging from the ceiling. It was all yellow, and the letters were all black. 12 tribes of Israel. It was like, it had to be 12 No, I'll say maybe like 8 by 8, maybe like 8 feet by 8 feet. It was pretty big. Maybe that's a little too big, but it was huge, And then I remember reading through, and when I got to Ephraim, I said Ephraim, so-called Puerto Rican, and I paused, and I let out this sigh of relief, like I'm finally where I belong. This is a thought that came in mind. And that was from listening to the cassette tape and being nervous, finding out where I wanted, where could I go for safety, to that moment that I was actually sitting in the classroom. So they got all these snares out here, all these traps, and they've been planning this thing for the longest. This is not something that just came up a couple of years ago and they just decided to do this. This whole New World Order goes all the way back to May 1st, 1776. It's not a new thing that they're trying to implement. We're at the final stages of their plan, you know? And, the reason why the end didn't come in 2000 was because, even though we wanted it to, is because, you know, brothers and sisters, there were still sisters and brothers and, a few sisters that still had to be woken up. And back then, you didn't have YouTube. See? So it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. Yeah, and John Todd was exposing the secret counsels of the wicked. Why? Because he was a part of it. He was a part of the top 13 witches that were the council of 13. He was up there very high, you know. And then he sat down for hours in the area where he was at. He had ran out of drugs. He was coming down off of, his high. And then, he just started having, just a lot of different thoughts that were going through his mind. And he was sitting there for hours trying to find out a church that he can go to that the Illuminati didn't own the pastor. Show you how that they own all of these churches. So that it took him hours to sit down, because if he would have went to the wrong church, he'd have got offed. It says, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, right? Because the insurrection is going to be against who? The ones that fear the Lord. It's going to be a cutting in. That's what the word insurrection means, to cut from within. So there's going to be a great uprising against the people of the Lord. And these devils have been putting these plans in place, who whet or sharpen their tongue like a sword, and this goes back again into their legislation, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And what are the bitter words? That's your legislation. These unrighteous decrees, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect, because in the public eye, they're not saying what they're going to do. But in secret, they're saying that they're going to do this, that, and the other. And the main ones that are the problem are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Why? Because we're the Israelites. And this is why they have all of these things in place. Get the migrants out of here. Don't worry about all the goddamn probably thousands of Chinese and East Indian and Arabs and I'm about to say Persians, which that's the ancient name, Elamites and which are the East Indians and the Pakistanis and all them different individuals that came down through the border, through the Darien Straits into America. Never mind them. Just get all the South Americans, Central American, and the Mexicans that came through that. They're the main problem. Never mind them other individuals. And you don't hear them talking about that. They're talking about some Tren de Aragua and, the El Salvadorians and, Mexicans and different other Latino tribes. But they ain't talking about all the other nations that came through those borders. Why is that? Because we're the main threat. It says, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not, right? Because they don't have any fear. They don't think there's going to be any repercussions. But the Lord said, when they shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against them. And they're going to be eaten, because it says when they're about to fill their belly, the Lord shall cast upon the fury of his wrath. He's going to cast the fury of his wrath upon them. All right. So, gonna finish out here in Psalms 83, but before I go there, let me try to read a little more of this. The only way we will be able to mine in security if all of these people are exterminated. That's dealing with Gad. And the language that they used at the time, extermination, was precisely describing what they were attempting to do. The Native Americans in California, of course, attempted to resist the onslaught onto their villages. They would fight back with whatever weapons they had at hand, but they were vastly outgunned and vastly outnumbered, and were very infrequently able to mount an effective defense. Usually it was more a matter of fleeing, trying to get away. We have accounts of the white vigilantes or rangers, simply firing into the creek or going into the woods and using hatchets or other weapons, guns, to kill those. We have many descriptions of those when they're attacking on a stream or a river, and the natives are being shot as they're floating down, trying to escape from this terrible onslaught. But we uh, also remember that these bands of Indians could receive local compensation for their actions. Many communities through Gold Rush, California, offered bounties for Indian heads. So not only were they being slaughtered to get them out of the area where they were mining, but they were also being hunted. There was a bounty on their head, just like the legislation they tried to pass in Mississippi, 1484. Indian scalps or Indian ears, and so Indian raiders could bring the evidence of their killing and receive direct local compensation. You know, and the movie, The Magnificent Seven, the remake with Denzel Washington and um, D'Onofrio. What's his other name? The guy that played the Big Bear, Vincent, I think his name, Vincent D'Onofrio or something like that. He was saying that he was scalping Gadites, for their scalps to get paid in that movie. It says, furthermore, the state of California passed legislation authorizing more than $1 million for the reimbursement of additional expenses that the Indian hunters may have incurred. So not only did they, put it into legislation, they also paid for whatever expenses that they had to get these, Gadites out of there. And then that was passed on eventually to the federal Congress, where Congress passed legislation also authorizing additional federal funds for this purpose. So this is something that has happened in the past. Don't think they can't bring it back. Trump was talking about bringing back, the Aliens Enemy Act or something like that of 1798. This goes back to 1850. So what we have here in California during the gold rush quite clearly was a case of genocide, mass murder that was legalized and publicly subsidized. Frank LaPena, professor of Native American Studies, there was a person up in Humboldt County who was found with a small child, a young Indian child, and they asked him, "What are you doing with this child?" They were asking this Edomite that. What was he doing with a Gadite child? He said, "I am protecting him. He's an orphan." And they say, "Well, how do you know he's an orphan?" He said, "I killed his parents." No remorse. April Moore, Nisanan Maidu educator. By the time that the gold rush and events afterwards had occurred, so much happened, not just Sutter enslaving and terrorizing the native peoples, but an epidemic had erupted previous to this: smallpox, chickenpox, unusual diseases that they had no defenses, so their population had been decimated. Then it became decimated again after the gold rush because of their aboriginal rights as landowners. They needed to be eradicated and removed, so a process went into motion to make it legal to kill Indian people. See? So all of this into history, this is just one example of many. Like the brother just put up there, the Indian Removal Act of 1830. And that went even before this. And at one point, it was something in the neighborhood of $25 for a male body part, whether it was a scalp, a hand, or the whole body, and then $5 for a child or a woman. In many cases, they only had to bring in the scalp, and in other cases, the whole body was brought in to prove that they had this individual. They killed this person and received their reward. So pretty much it was open season on Gad. So you don't think we're gonna get you back for that? And it was well after 1900 when the law was repealed. So this law was in the books for a long period of time, 1850 to well into the 1900s. That bounty hunting, or whatever you may want to call it, on the California Indians was repealed. It was shortly after the discovery of Ishi that the nation, or should I say the state, became aware of the fact that it was still legal to kill Indians, so that the law had to be changed. Violence and sanctuary, and you can read on more in here. There's a whole lot more. I read up to about here, and then there's more testimonies, you know. And like I said, I put that in the description box. So I'm gonna just finish out here in Psalms 83 and 4 now. They have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent; they are confederate against us. They're all working in tandem. They're all working together as one to get rid of us. The tabernacles of Edom, Esau is the number one on the list. The Ishmaelites, which are, the Ishmaelites, so-called Arabs of Moab, and the Hagarenes, which also, those are Ishmaelites. Gabal and Ammon, the Ammonites at Ammon, and Amalek, which are the head tribe of the Edomites. The Philistines, which are, Hamites, from Mizraim, or so-called Egyptians, with the inhabitants of Tyre, these are Canaanites. Ashur, which are the Assyrians, also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. The children of Lot is Moab and Ammon. Salah. So they help. Everybody was in cahoots to come against us. And it is that way to this very day. You can believe it or not. This shit ain't changed. Just because the names have changed, the personalities and the spirit of these people, these nations, has not changed. They still feel the same way. They ain't gonna make it known publicly because today everything is PC, but they still on a mission to do it. All right. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.